In this next article from the New York Post, Nancy Pelosi says Democrats are looking at the 25th Amendment to remove Trump. The House Speaker and potential devil incarnate said on Thursday threatened that Democrats are looking at using a provision of the 25th Amendment to effectively remove President Trump from office. Pelosi, a Democrat from the corrupt state of California, teased that she and her fellow Democrats are considering invoking the constitutional provision on presidential secession, a seemingly fantastical yearning among Trump opponents. Quote, tomorrow, come here tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the 25th Amendment, but not to take attention away from the subject we have now, and quote, Pelosi told the reporters at a press conference. Now, it wasn't the 25th Amendment. Let's go look up the 25th Amendment. What is, I forget, one good thing about the show is we don't have a set script, so we like to look stuff up. Cornell always has really good breakdowns. So this one is removal of the president from office or his death or resignation. The vice president shall become president. Whenever there's a vacancy of the office of the vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take office upon confirmation by the majority vote of both houses of Congress. Whenever a president transmits to the president's pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives has written declaration that he is unable to discharge the power of duties of his office, and until he transmits to them a written declaration to the contrary, such powers and duties shall be discharged by the vice president and acting president. What the hell are these people doing? This is why you can't trust Democrats. They just make shit up. They really do just make shit up because they don't think that it was fair and that they're justified in whatever they're doing. And so it's like, to use the 25th Amendment on Donald Trump, all he would have to do is make a written declaration to the contrary. So they're just wasting our time here. There's like this. Okay, not all of these representatives and senators are going to be knowledgeable about everything. I probably know a lot more about law than some freshman senators and representatives, simply because I've had to go through the legal system. But a lot of them probably don't really have very good skills. They really have very good people skills, and they knew the right people. Maybe they had prior experience in the military or something, made them a really good candidate. Or the other candidate was very weak at that time. But I almost feel like there's should be a class that if you want to be a senator or U.S. House representative, that you would need to learn the basics of the way the law functions. Because if you do that, you wouldn't make statements like this. You wouldn't be trying to say we're going to use the 25th Amendment, because you would just go through the thing and then you would instantly see, oh, well, he could just write a letter until he transmits them a written declaration to the contrary. Such powers and duties shall be discharged by the vice president as acting president. So what happened was there was some president who had some illness and it rendered him unable to do the job. So they used this 25th Amendment to get control of the White House. Makes sense.
So, but it definitely does not make sense to use for Trump because they were trying to say like he did some steroids when he was on COVID. So now he's like all roided up and he's like toxic masculinity. And so now he can't be trusted in the office because he's a drug user. It's more kooky bullshit from them. Par for the course. Nothing new going on here, man.
Oops. Definitely par for the course. Man, I can't believe this crusty old crabby bitch is still in the House of Representatives for real. Like, this woman is a dinosaur. I mean, she's from like the Paleolithic era of U.S. politics. We have to get better politicians. It's the California people. They elect the worst politicians. Now, not all of them are Democrats. Only 2/3 of them. But the people in the city dictate everything, which is why I think we need to secede everything from Los Angeles south down to the border and just give it to Mexico and say, hey, look, this is your problem now. Here, let's look at. Because, like,
if you look at the red versus blue states, the height map, here from the 2016 election, you could see, all right, there's this big, huge blue bar, right? And so in my state, in Oregon, the Oregon state legislator just voted to give all of our electoral college votes to the winner of the popular election nationwide. And basically it kills the electoral college. And so this is the problem with that, is that if you kill the electoral college, they're like, oh, well, it's not fair. Like, we don't get to pick the president because it's the battleground states that get to pick the president. And so they say, no, we want the popular vote. But then you look at where these people live at, and you can see, okay, well, they won the popular vote. And so this would mean if we went with the popular vote that the big cities would just pick the president every single time. So instead of having battleground states that change, you now have battleground cities. And they're all run by Democrats. And Los Angeles, Southern California, controls everyone. No one else has the population that high. And then we all lose. This is why they made the Electoral College. They made the Electoral College precisely for this exact reason, is that people will, the vast majority of the country, which they say, oh, well, less people live there, so land mass doesn't vote. But this isn't, why on earth would these people want to be in your country? Like, look at where they're at, right? So you've got Chicago over here. You got, Miami down there? You got, like, Southern California, Los Angeles, San Diego, which I think actually San Diego, isn't that the only one Republican one? I think that's the only Republican city. So that's in the, there's some other bumps over here that are more lower. That's where, like, San Diego's at, right? But if you ask me, I think we could just carve these big cities off. We could just say, hey, look, we don't like the way you vote. We're just going to give you to Mexico. And then we could give Seattle and Chicago and New York. We just give these ones to Canada. And then we could just cut off these big cities in Florida, and we could just stick them in with what is that? Where's Puerto Rico at? We just like lump them and just like put them in together. No, we'll just make it their own country, and then then we'll be like done with them. Like, why on earth would we want to be in a political system where it's all controlled by a bunch of people in the big cities who don't share our values, who are high crime, they're high corruption, and it's not going to change because the population's not going to change. Like, battleground states change. At least with a battleground state, you need to go to the whole state. You hit the big cities, but you're getting the whole state. In here, it's just like you're just going to battleground cities, and it's like, why would you need to go anywhere else other than these cities? Why would you need to pander to anybody else but these cities? And then they're always in control of the office of the president. That really sucks. We shouldn't have that. That's why we have the Electoral College, is to prevent that. Most socialists live in big cities. So not having the Electoral College really it just makes it so that the big city people control the country, and most of the land mass is not very liberal. So you need to provide them with an incentive to stay part of the union. The Electoral College is a really good way to go about doing that. What is this? Here we can see a video, Mr. Magoo reading into a teleprompter. So he went to Detroit, Michigan.
He's winning back the United States Senate and expanding our majority in the House of Representatives. That's why we need to send Gary back to Washington, D.C. He's winning back the United.
Oops. Where's Michigan at? So there's Michigan. Where's that at that? It's like right over here. Well, you got a pretty shitty crowd. You got to admit, that's like one of the lowest crowd turnouts you could possibly have. There's like hardly anyone there at all. Just reading off the teleprompter.
Send Gary back to Washington, D.C.
So he doesn't even write his own speeches. I mean, I bet Trump probably doesn't write his own speeches either. Probably does the same thing, just reading off the teleprompter, but I mean, if he did write his own speech, he probably wouldn't be able to remember it anyways. So, if I was in that situation, I'd probably have people writing my speeches too. And maybe my crowd might be that small, so I'm not going to knock them too hard. But definitely don't think that I would be voting for somebody for president who turned out that small of a crowd. That's a pretty small crowd.